think there's such a kind of focus on looking after yourself, looking after your health, looking after your mental state, whether it's a home, whether it's an office, whether it's a kind of club of some kind. There's very much a kind of a recovery. There's very much a kind of rest and rehabilitation element to it. And it's something that's very, very dear to us. And certainly maybe it's an age thing, maybe it's being a parent and thinking about your own mortality and things like that. But it's to have such a kind of focus on that within the luxury sector and even residential sector. It is really, really important at the moment, and it's really fascinating.
You're now listening to Design Curious, a place where you, creative one, are here to learn about what it really is like to be an interior designer. And I'm your host and mentor, Rebecca Ward. If you're worried about how to succeed in a creative career, if you're ready to learn your next steps to become an interior designer, and if you want the satisfaction of doing something you love every day, you are in the right place. Grab a coffee, a notebook, and let's dig into today's episode. Hello, and welcome to episode 178 of Design Curious Podcast. Today on the podcast, I am privileged to be able to interview designer Elliot James. His journey from furniture design to establishing a multi-award-winning international studio is a testament to his dedication to creating spaces that transcend mere aesthetics. His philosophy centers on the belief that well-designed spaces can serve as sanctuaries, evoking genuine emotion and fostering meaningful connections. I truly enjoyed our conversation talking to him about furniture design, about international design, and it was just a lot of fun. So I think you're going to enjoy the episode. So let's listen in. Hi, Elliot. Welcome to Design Curious Podcast. It's great to have you here today.
Hi, Rebecca. Thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited about what we can talk about. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm very interested in your story. Right now, you are currently in Dubai, so we have very different time zones happening right now. So I appreciate you coming on and sharing. Why don't we start where you got into design in the first place, or creative outlets at all? What made you think you wanted to go into this kind of industry?
Yeah, no, fantastic. It's a long story. It all kind of started when I was a boy. I grew up in a house where my father was an engineer, was always working on our home and extensions and things like that. So my brother and I would help him do those kind of things. So structural elements and technical elements. And at the same time, my mother was a huge interior design enthusiast. So I was always surrounded by kind of paint samples, fabric swatches. My grandmother was a huge antique collector. So we were always kind of surrounded by antiques and understanding kind of the beauty in these beautiful old objects and things like that. So it was really ingrained in my brother and I from a young age. And my brother went off to do a completely different career. But for me, I just always had this burning desire to do something creative. I loved drawing. I loved building things. And I had a particular fascination with building three-dimensional objects and seeing these things come to life. So when I then sort of specialized at a certain age, at college or university, I then knew I wanted to go into kind of product and furniture design where I could use and create something sort of very tactile and look at different materials and things. When I finished and I was kind of making my own furniture, and I had a sort of small company that was doing a few installations and bespoke pieces, but I would go into a space and I would look at it and think I could do so much more with this space if I had the freedom to do that, or if I could do the entire thing. So I went back and retrained in interior architecture, and then from there decided, okay, now I'm going to control everything within that space. And then really that's where kind of Elliot James Interiors began, and then grown into an interior architectural studio where we do everything from what we call kind of shell and core. So just the bare bones of a building, and we build everything right down to the accessories, curate the artwork, bespoke furniture. And that's how this journey or my kind of career evolved, I guess.
Okay. So when you went to get your interior architecture degree, did you have to intern for other people while you were doing that, or was that not part of it? And then I'm just curious about how you, like, if you worked for anybody before you started Elliot James Interiors.
I didn't. I just when I finished my qualifications, I was actually working in branding and in graphic design for a big national newspaper in London. And from there, that also taught me another set of skills about how to sort of market myself, brand myself, what I wanted my brand to look like and everything. So that was very, very useful. But I was kind of doing the other thing on the side. And then it got to a point where the two were starting to compete, and I just had to make a decision. I'm either going to do one career and be in branding and graphic design and everything forever, or I'm going to do what really, is calling to me to do and follow my passion, go and take on the interior architecture full time. So at the time, my business partner was living in Singapore and was saying to me, come out and see me, come to Singapore. I'd been going to Asia for a couple of years anyway, due to my brother living out there, and I loved it.
Hmm.
And then when I came to Singapore, I was just like, let's just take the plunge. So I said to my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, should we go have an adventure? And we said, yeah. So we completely just two suitcases, a laptop, and a website, arrived in Singapore and said, okay, we're now a full interior design studio. Who wants our services? It's pretty much tumbleweed for about 6 months. There's a lot of knocking on doors and trying to drum up some business where we could.
Yeah. Wow. So I admire that adventurous spirit, which I think is needed for any entrepreneur because you have to take a risk and just get out there and do it. But to move and not have any kind of like groundwork set up for getting clients right off the bat, I imagine it was a little tumbleweed, but only 6 months. So that's not bad, I think, actually.
Yeah. I think we were lucky enough. Singapore was a small place. It was still very competitive, but I think we were lucky enough we were in a kind of an expat community. So it was a lot of knocking on doors, a lot of going to kind of events and things like that, and just making friendships and things, and kind of word of mouth. And it was then a case of as soon as the first opportunity presented itself, naturally I jumped on it and then sort of did the best I could with that project in order to kind of be a sort of stepping stone onto the next thing, really.
Hmm. So as far as the services that you offered right off, was it mostly just design work, or did you do like installation, procurement for the clients as well? Because I think it would be hard to learn where your resources are once you move to a new place.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. No, we did. I did the full thing. I did the full project, like
Hmm.
from start to finish. It was a sort of duplex apartment. It was a 3 bed, very nice with a beautiful roof terrace and everything. But yeah, we did the full thing, the procurement and everything. But what I did is, in the time whilst I was leading up to getting that first project, I spent a lot of time researching into suppliers and contractors and viewing their work and making sure that I felt that I was happy to then work with those people and sort of for them to kind of represent my brand, I guess. I think where I'd sort of always had that history in furniture design and sort of my education in the UK, I always felt I had a very, very good understanding of what good quality was.
Hmm.
So I spent that time sourcing for that. And then fortunately, I mean, it didn't go so smoothly, but like all these things, you kind of cut your teeth on the first project and you
Yeah.
learn so much and then you learn every time. I think I'm still learning on every project.
Yeah.
So
Me
yeah.
too. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So being a furniture designer, do you also do a lot of custom furniture for your clients, I would think?
We do a lot of custom furniture for our clients. It's one of our sort of USPs as well. Like a lot of what we now focus on is about client experience. It's about sort of the experience of the home and how can we enrich that? How can we create a sort of not simplicity, but how can we enrich and make our clients' lives easier and more convenient and everything sort of be very intuitive? And that comes down to that bespoke furniture as well, whether it's a piece of joinery or a piece of cabinetry, or whether it's something like a beautiful armchair that ergonomically formed for the client. All of those kind of ideas and sort of research of our client goes into that product. And so we really, really value doing that. And for us as well, it allows us to give something truly unique to our clients as well, something that somebody hasn't seen before, I guess.
Yeah. So then, as you have developed your brand and everything, what is really your ideal type of project, and what really are you passionate about when you approach a project?
It's a really tough question. It's a really tough question, and I should know this off the tip of my tongue. But I think it's so hard because we
Yeah.
do a broad range of residential, commercial, hospitality, and that's kind of been a sort of natural progression over the years. But I think one of the things that really excites me is when we do a residential project for a client that it has a good understanding of design and an appreciation for detail. Because what we try and do is we try and add these little kind of beautiful elements that to the naked eye or to somebody that maybe just walks into somebody's home may not notice these things, but to a client that can sit down and notice a detail, that's a real sort of beautiful moment for us to be able to
Hmm.
do that. And if we can capture our client's personality and capture that in an environment or in an interior, and that's very special. So for us, we've been very lucky over the years to carve ourselves a niche into luxury. And within that, obviously, we get to work with some amazing materials. We get to work with some fascinating clients as well that are so well traveled and interesting stories and have interesting either likes or dislikes and, family heirlooms and things like that. All of that we kind of put into this sort of mixing pot to create this beautiful project for them.
Very nice. Yeah. Yeah. So, how large is your firm that you have now? And is it based in
Yeah, so
Singapore or is it in Dubai where you're at?
So we're in. So I'm based in Dubai.
Okay.
I moved here in August of 2025, and previously I was in Singapore for 13 years. So in Singapore we still have our office there. So we have three of our designers sitting in Singapore, and then in Dubai we have six, and then in London we have two. We just found where we started in Singapore, our clients would be predominantly residential clients, and then they may have family wealth offices, they may have other ventures, and they would ask us to look at different projects. It might be a restaurant, it might be a wellness facility or something that they've invested in. So then it sort of grew, and then we would have inquiries to say, "Are you guys in Dubai? We're buying property in Dubai." Dubai is obviously a kind of booming economy at the moment, and so we said no. At the time, we didn't, but it was something that we always wanted to do. And with me being in Dubai, it allows me to cater for the Singapore market, and I'm up early and I work with Singapore, and then obviously later on in the afternoon, London comes on board and comes online, and then I'm ready to work with them as well. So strategically, Dubai works very well.
Nice. Okay. And so I think it'd be really interesting to adapt to a new culture then as you're living there and setting up shop again. Of course, your brands can be very international. Do you like then having international brand and having to deal with all the different countries, economies, and how is the current market for you?
Yeah, I love the different cultures. I love sort of understanding how business is done in different places. And I found that sort of Singapore and Asia, our clients would be very, very detailed orientated. We spend a lot of time mulling over kind of details and sort of the intricacies of the design. And then here in Dubai, I find people are very, very face value. They want to see you in front of them. They want to have that eye to eye contact. They want to kind of have
Mm.
that trust there as well. And I find all these kind of things really, really interesting in sort of how you do business, but also how that then translates into people's environments and what makes them comfortable and what people are looking for. And so I think learning all those things are really great. I think some of the challenges of those things are trying to spread yourself maybe too thin
Mm.
across kind of the regions.
Hmm.
I think exactly as you said, sort of get into grips with those new markets and trying to get up to speed and making sure that one market is not suffering whilst you're focusing on another, and that certainly takes some balancing.
Hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, I think there's challenges.
Yeah. Well, if we don't know anything about you, we know you're always up for an adventure, right? So, so let's take on Dubai now. Yeah, that's great though.
Absolutely.
I love that spirit. So I imagine you're dealing a lot with luxury design, residential, probably hospitality as well. Where do you see it going right now? As I know there's been a lot of incorporation of wellness into luxury design, but what does it look like for you with your projects?
Yeah, we've been fortunate enough as well to be brought in by a number of developers as well and sort of assist on analyzing what luxury looks like and what that luxury clientele is looking for as a buyer when they come to a new home. What is it that they want? It's not necessarily just a case of a number of bedrooms and a study, or even to say, okay, I'm going to have a wine cellar. It goes far beyond that. Now people want to have kind of a sanctuary, and it's something that we pride ourselves on. Our motto, our ethos is sanctuary created. We want to create somebody's sanctuary, and that kind of looks like we're very different to lots of different people. But now I think there's such a kind of focus on looking after yourself, looking after your health, looking after your mental state, whether it's a home, whether it's an office, whether it's a kind of club of some kind. There's very much a kind of a recovery. There's very much a kind of rest and rehabilitation element to it. And it's something that's very, very dear to us. And certainly maybe it's an age thing, maybe it's being a parent and thinking about your own mortality and things like that. But it's to have such a kind of focus on that within the luxury sector and even the residential sector. It is really, really important at the moment. And it's really fascinating. We're doing a huge amount from kind of contrast therapies, hyperbaric chambers, oxygen chambers, looking at how kind of oxygen chambers can actually rejuvenate brain cells and help stem cell growth and all these kind of things. Naturally, where there's so much wealth in these locations that people have worked very, very hard to accumulate, now they want their life to be prolonged and they want that quality of life to be so much better. So we're seeing a huge amount of input and a huge amount of focus on that in the residential, in the home setting and things like that. So, which is really, really fascinating, really fascinating.
Yeah. So a lot of people are opting to have those saunas and cold plunge and, I don't know, hyperbaric oxygen within their homes so they don't have to go out for it.
That's right. They're looking for that kind of thing at the home, but it even goes beyond to looking at certain things like circadian rhythms. So those kind of lighting effects that when we wake up in the morning, the lighting is a lot more is a little bit cooler, but it's a lot brighter, and our cells absorb that and it kind of gives us energy. And then at the end of the day, it's a lot more kind of subtle, more yellow, and allows us to kind of start to relax and things like that. So even down to how we kind of inject circadian lighting into the home has a massive effect. Even down to things like people now want almost a non-tech environment as well. So is there an area where people can go to just completely detach from technology within their house? Is it somewhere that people meditate? All of these kind of facilities that can really help our own mental state as well as physical. So goes to kind of the stereotypical gym and maybe a sauna, and now in comes a kind of recovery suite, a recovery facility. And then that can also include obviously sort of massage facilities and things like that as well.
Yeah, because I think a lot of the recovery that has to be done is not only just from going out in the world, but it's also just the constant exposure to our devices. And so having a device-free area, a non-tech area definitely makes sense, but also incorporating tech in a useful way for your wellness, like you said, with programming circadian rhythm, with the lighting. And I'm sure there's other, tech that could be more discreet and hidden, but it still is beneficial for wellness.
That's right. Absolutely. Yeah. And what's amazing is how that is now seamlessly find its way and integrating into our homes. I just see that increasing more and more and becoming more common on a day to day, because I think everybody's sort of moving that way. I think everybody's aware of how kind of plugged in they are, that they're aware that all of this needs to start sort of giving back and helping us and giving us the health benefits as well.
Yeah, and a lot of people also just work from home, so they're needing respite from their home office, or what else is going on there. Okay, so really interesting trends there. So have you worked on some hotels in Singapore and any place that if we were traveling we want to go to?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've been really fortunate. We're working on actually a wellness hotel at the moment in Bali in Indonesia, which is really fun. They started off doing a wellness facility. We started off as a gymnasium, then it grew out to being sort of wellness and things like that. And now they're creating a kind of wellness hotel as well. So very much all the things that we've just spoken about kind of finding its way into the rooms themselves and things. but a beautiful spot. You kind of come off from surfing on the beach, and then you come up to the hotel, and then you've got this beautiful wellness environment, and yeah, really, really special. So that's really exciting. Other places that we've designed rooftop bars on top of Marina Bay Sands. So you see the huge Marina Bay Sands casino hotel in the middle of the Singapore skyline that looks like it's got a boat on top. We've designed the bar on top of there.
Oh,
We've done work at Raffles. So we've been very fortunate to work on some amazing projects over the years.
oh, that's great. Yeah. Well, do you have any advice for those who are listening who are probably starting out in their career or thinking about becoming a designer, but are really intrigued by maybe the international aspect or just blending wellness or even just getting into luxury and hospitality, commercial design? Do you have any advice you'd like to share? Maybe lessons learned from when you started out or anything just to help them going with their career?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think when it was myself starting out, I think I had a huge amount of naivety, probably a good sprinkling of ambition and kind of bullheadedness, like I'm going to make this happen kind of thing. And that's kind of stood me in good stead. But I think ultimately it was a case of like following my passion. I loved traveling and I loved everything design. And anybody that would stop and talk about design, I would have a conversation with. And through that and through networking, then opportunities presented themselves. And I think for anybody that's maybe being held back by the fear of that, I knew I could always go back to my previous life if it all came crashing down, if it all fell apart. And for me, the risk of waking up and never having done it versus doing it and failure was far more traumatic in terms of like the idea of the outcome or whatever. Apologies because I haven't really kind of articulated that well, but
Yeah.
the fear of failure wasn't as bad as the fear of not starting at all.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I think my advice would be get out there, try it, network, and if you are passionate enough about it, I think that will shine through and you will find your way in. I would have interned, I would have shadowed, I would have done the junior roles for as long as it took me to learn what I needed to and get my first in. And I think that's the same thing for anybody is, whatever it kind of takes, if you love what you do, then you never work a day in your life, as they say. The dream, really.
Yeah. Yeah. Always be ready for that adventure too. I love that. Well, thank you, Elliot. Where can people find you so they can check out your portfolio and any projects that you might be working on right now?
Absolutely. Yes. So our website is www.elliotjames.com. And alternatively, we're on Instagram as well, which is Elliot James Interiors. So you can find us on Instagram. We have a huge amount of kind of reels. We're always showing behind the scenes of projects we're working on. And we do a lot of, we have an amazing in-house team as well of animators and renderers as well. So you can kind of see how the projects are evolving. And then obviously we do the beautiful reveals at the end. So yeah, please come and check us out there.
Wonderful. Definitely will. And we'll be sure and put those links in the show notes so people can easily find you. Well, thank you again for coming on the podcast today. It's been a pleasure to talk with you.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. It's been fantastic.
Yeah, we'll talk soon. So if you'd like to reach out to Elliot or follow him on social media, his contact information is in the show notes. Go ahead and reach out to him there. And then don't forget all the great things we have for you. And my design mentor is available to you if you're looking for mentorship in the interior design industry or some beginning coaching level. There's some learning modules in the program. I'd love to have you in there. And you can find more information on my website, ourworddesign.com. All right, that's all I have for you this week. Next week, we'll have another great episode. And until then, stay creative. Thanks for listening. If you love this episode, please leave a rating and a review. This helps me reach other curious creatives like you. If you have a topic request or would like to contact me, simply head over to my website, ourworddesign.com, or email me at podcast@ourworddesign.com.